equipment and with access to the place and with the parade route set up to come right by where they are at a very slow pace, it's a cinch to kill the president, and they did it.
Kennedy's motorcade was arranged to make 2 turns, taking him directly into a triangulation. The first shot came from the picket fence. It hit Kennedy in the throat. The second shot came from the Dow Tex building, next to the book depository. It entered Kennedy's back. The third shot came from the southwest corner of the book depository, 7th floor. It hit Connolly. The fourth shot came from the Dow Tex. It narrowly missed, hit the curb, wounding a bystander. The fifth and sixth shots were fired almost simultaneously, from the depository and from the picket fence. Both hit Kennedy in the head. One from above, moving him forward. Then an instant later, one from the front, tossing him back. One from above, moving him forward. Then, an instant later, one from the front, tossing him back. Now, only one question remains. Who ordered it? Our experts believe those orders came not from Lyndon Johnson, not from J. Edgar Hoover, not from the CIA as an agency, or even the Pentagon, but from a group of individuals, a power elite. These people knew how to turn on S-Force. They knew how to turn S-Force against their own president.
Look what's happened here. This group of guys that we have developed over these years in this ultra-secret program to kill Castro has killed the president because he betrayed them.
The story of the Kennedy assassination and the story of other scandals that we've had in our government are a kind of karma coming home, a kind of retribution for what we did to other governments.
This is Lyndon Johnson talking, the President of the United States. He said, "We operate a murder incorporated." Johnson said, "We operate it." He didn't say we used to operate it. He said we operate it. Now, for President Johnson to say that there was a murder incorporated involved in the death of Kennedy, you can be sure he was not talking about Lee Harvey Oswald. He knew what he was talking about. And that's how Kennedy was killed.
We only learn by listening. We can help.
Theatre traffic, parking just in time. First night, could be the last. Wafer thin plot, overweight star, no showstopper, no show starters. The interval blah blah, more overacting, more underwhelming. Comedy, travesty. Unoriginal ending, curtain. Sitting ovation. Not a bad evening, really.
How fast does a fly fly?
Wait a minute, is it before dinner or after dinner?
No, oh, it's the one we were thinking,
wait a minute, it's in the paper.
The Trivial Pursuit Janus edition. You won't know unless you play.
Condensation is not just a nuisance. It can also be a cause of damp problems throughout your house, like mold and peeling wallpaper. An EBAC dehumidifier can help control all these problems because it takes excess moisture out of your home. There's an EBAC designed to suit every home, and you'll be amazed how much water it takes out every day. Help stamp out damp with an EBAC.
It's the summer of '63. The dignity and the power. The speeches of President Kennedy in Ireland on CD and tape.
The Dalai Lama has traveled far and wide in his quest for world peace.
Our struggle must remain non-violent.
The Chinese invaded Tibet, and the Buddhist monks had to flee their monasteries.
People were carrying the flag. They were just so brave, you know. They carry the flag and they know they're going to get shot.
The Dalai Lama in exile, striving to achieve world peace in real lives. Friday at 9 on Discovery.
We have discovered that hiring assassins is an established procedure, a way of doing business, and that we're not the only country to do it. But in our case, this procedure was turned against our own president. This Special Operations Unit, this group we have referred to in this program as S-Force, it is their very existence that is the key to the conspiracy to assassinate JFK. Mr. Sheehan, what can be done to stop S-Force?
Well, one of the things, James, that we have to do is to have a thorough investigation of the setting up of this group, who was in it, and what crimes they've committed, and hold them responsible for it. And there needs to be a thorough investigation by a special prosecutor to investigate their connection to the assassination of President Kennedy and, of course, to the Watergate burglary, to show that it was their connection to this group and Howard Hughes that was being looked for.
Mr. Marchetti, how do we harness the illegal covert operations of the CIA?
Well, supposedly by law, mainly through Congress. But right now there are two bills before Congress that are designed to revise the intelligence system, and they allow for the same things to continue on. The president is still allowed to have the right to, and the sole discretion to carry out covert action without oversight.
We have a telephone question. The caller is Debbie from Clearwater.
Good evening. I recall when the assassination took place that it was announced that the files or the information about the assassination would not be released. Why did the people of our country tolerate that and the secrecy of the files and the information regarding the assassination at that time?
Well, the problem is that most of the American people don't feel that we have anything to do with decisions that are made by our government. Most people just come once every 4 years and vote for a president that's offered to us by the Republican or Democratic Party, neither one of whom we're particularly pleased by. The people have to learn to take control, and that's why they can call in and demand that these files be reopened, that a special prosecutor be assigned to investigate the existence of this political assassination group that was established back in 1960, back when the president and vice president authorized political assassinations. This has to be looked into. It has to be brought to light. The American people have to take charge of our government. That's why they allow things like this to go on. The time is over to let this stuff go on any longer.
Hello?
Yes, Rick. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I'd like to know why it's taken so long for this information and the truth to be exposed.
In the first place, it hasn't been exposed yet, and I don't think it ever will be. Secrecy in government is designed for one purpose and one purpose only. Not to keep the enemy or the opposition from knowing what's going on, but to keep the American people from knowing what is going on. And all the evidence that exists, or might have existed, that would implicate the government in Kennedy's assassination, you can be sure that evidence is now destroyed. So even if everything is released now, the chances of solving the Kennedy assassination and attaching the blame to the guilty parties is almost impossible.
You've heard people say that Lee Harvey Oswald was set up as the fall guy. Wouldn't you like to know what the KGB says about Oswald? Meet a high-ranking secret agent from the KGB, a man never before seen on television, Colonel Nichiporenko. In 1963, he was an officer in the counterintelligence in Mexico and met with Oswald at the Russian embassy 2 months before the assassination.
When I met Oswald in Mexico City in 19 1963, the discussion was about the visa for Russia. Oswald's emotional state was very agitated, very tense, and very nervous. I spoke with Oswald during our conversation, and the second visit I considered that he was in big trouble. Something was very dangerous for him. I consider that Jim Garrison investigation is very important because its investigation is directed in New Orleans activities of Oswald, and my personal opinion that this is a very important place where maybe it's necessary to repeat the investigation. I consider that was conspiracy which involved more than only Lee Harvey Oswald.
And that was Colonel Nichiporenko. We know that the colonel has additional information about the Kennedy assassination, but due to its highly sensitive nature, this is all we can share at this time. Was Kennedy a great president, or even a good one? That is for history to determine. But his death leaves us with a dilemma. Do we, as a nation, want to deal with paid assassins? Today, they might work for us, but tomorrow, how can we know? We've been asked, what is the purpose of opening old wounds? Well, perhaps the answer is for our children. We teach them to tell the truth, to speak up when there is a wrong. But in this case, those who tried to speak up were silenced, and that is wrong. Perhaps by opening the files, all the files, we can clean the slate and start again. We can only hope. Goodbye.
Next Sunday night, Equinox follows America's Special Weapons and Tactics teams in typical operational situations. That's Discovery Sunday, next week at 9 o'clock.